Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. Compassion is the basis of morality. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone that he is really free. Mostly it is loss which teaches us about the worth of things. The assumption that animals are without rights and the illusion that our treatment of them has no moral significance is a positively outrageous example of Western crudity and barbarity. Universal compassion is the only guarantee of morality. Every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world. Happiness consists in frequent repetition of pleasure. It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. The person who writes for fools is always sure of a large audience. They tell us that suicide is the greatest piece of cowardice. That suicide is wrong, when it is quite obvious that there is nothing in this world to which every man has a more unassailable title than to his own life and person. Every miserable fool who has nothing at all of which he can be proud adopts as a last resource pride in the nation to which he belongs. He is ready and happy to defend all its faults and follies tooth and nail, thus reimbursing himself for his own inferiority. One should use common words to say uncommon things. Compassion for animals is intimately associated with goodness of character, and it may be confidently asserted that he who is cruel to animals cannot be a good man. Der Mensch kann tun, was will, kann aber nicht wollen, was will. Man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. That when you're buying books, you're optimistically thinking you're buying the time to read them. Paraphrase of Schopenhauer. Life is a constant process of dying. We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. A sense of humor is the only divine quality of man. A high degree of intellect tends to make a man unsocial. Treat a work of art like a prince, let it speak to you first. Religion is the masterpiece of the art of animal training, for it trains people as to how they shall think. Great men are like eagles, and build their nest on some lofty solitude. So the problem is not so much to see what nobody has yet seen, as to think what nobody has yet thought concerning that which everybody sees. Life swings like a pendulum backward and forward between pain and boredom. No rose without a thorn, but many a thorn without a rose. Hope is the confusion of the desire for a thing with its probability. We can regard our life as a uselessly disturbing episode in the blissful repose of nothingness. Philosophy is a science, and as such has no articles of faith. Accordingly, in it nothing can be assumed as existing except what is either positively given empirically, or demonstrated through indubitable conclusions. Marrying means to have one's rights and double one's duties. If I maintain my silence about my secret, it is my prisoner. If I let it slip from my tongue, I am its prisoner. The shortness of life, so often lamented, may be the best thing about it. The world as my idea. Wealth is like seawater. The more we drink, the thirstier we become, and the same is true of fame. Change alone is eternal, perpetual, immortal. Almost all of our sorrows spring out of our relations with other people. There is no more mistaken path to happiness than worldliness. If we were not all so interested in ourselves, life would be so uninteresting that none of us would be able to endure it. To feel envy is human. To savor schadenfreude is devilish. We seldom think of what we have, but always of what we lack. Faith is like love. It does not let itself be forced. A man finds himself, to his great astonishment, suddenly existing, after thousands and thousands of years of non-existence. He lives for a little while, and then, again, comes an equally long period when he must exist no more. The heart rebels against this, and feels that it cannot be true. I have long held the opinion that the amount of noise that anyone can bear undisturbed stands in inverse proportion to his mental capacity, and therefore be regarded as a pretty fair measure of it. If we suspect that a man is lying, we should pretend to believe him, for then he becomes bold and assured, lies more vigorously, and is unmasked. There are very few who can think, but every man wants to have an opinion, and what remains but to take it ready-made from others, instead of forming opinions for himself. Men are the devils of the earth, and the animals are the tormented souls. Ordinary people merely think how they shall spend their time. A man of talent tries to use it. After your death, you will be what you were before your birth. He who writes carelessly confesses, thereby at the very outset, that he does not attach much importance to his own thoughts. Politeness is to human nature what warmth is to wax. Reading is thinking with someone else's head instead of one's own. It often happens that we blurt out things that may in some kind of way be harmful to us, but we are silent about things that may make us look ridiculous, because in this case, effect follows very quickly on cause. The business of the novelist is not to relate great events, but to make small ones interesting. If life, the craving for which is the very essence of our being, were possessed of any positive intrinsic value, there would be no such thing as boredom at all. Mere existence would satisfy us in itself, and we should want for nothing. What a person is for himself, what abides with him in his loneliness and isolation, and what no one can give or take away from him, this is obviously more essential for him than everything that he possesses or what he may be in the eyes of others. Rascals are always sociable, and the chief sign that a man has any nobility in his character is the little pleasure he takes in others' company. There is some wisdom in taking a gloomy view, in looking upon the world as a kind of hell, and in confining one's efforts to securing a little room that shall not be exposed to the fire. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.